Girlfriend faked a pregnancy to trap me. Said, you're too dumb to leave anyway. I hired a private investigator, exposed her scam, and sent her the test results during our wedding rehearsal. I met Persephone, Sephi, as she liked to be called, 3 years ago in Decatur, Georgia. She wasn't like anyone I'd ever dated before. She had this energy about her that drew people in. She was loud, funny, and ambitious. Or at least, she talked a lot about being ambitious. She wanted to be a screenwriter, said she had connections in LA, and always made it sound like her big break was just around the corner. I thought I hit the jackpot. I work as a mechanic. It's not a glamorous job, but I'm good at it, and I own my own shop, which means I'm comfortable. I wasn't flashy like Sephi. I didn't have big dreams or wild plans. I was just a guy who liked fixing cars and living a simple life. Looking back, maybe that's why she picked me. I was easy. Things were great for the first year. Sephi was always full of ideas about our future. She'd talk about moving to California, buying a big house, having a family. She painted a picture so vivid that I started to believe it too. I never noticed that most of what she said was just talk. She wasn't really doing much to make those dreams happen. I was just happy to be with someone who made life feel exciting. About 1.5 years into our relationship, Sephi told me she was pregnant. She sat me down one evening, holding my hands and looking at me with teary eyes. Max, we're going to have a baby, she said. I was stunned. We weren't planning for a kid. Hell, we weren't even engaged yet. But she looked so happy, and I didn't want to ruin that moment. I told her I'd be there for her, that we'd figure it out together. She cried, hugged me, and said she knew I'd be the best dad ever. I didn't feel ready, but I wanted to do the right thing. At first, I was excited. I started saving up money, thinking about turning the spare room into a nursery, looking into what I'd need to do to support her and the baby. But pretty quickly, little things started to feel off. Sephi didn't act like someone who was pregnant. She didn't get sick, didn't have cravings, didn't seem tired. When I asked about doctor's appointments, she said she didn't want me to come because it made her nervous. That felt strange, but I didn't want to push her. I figured maybe she was just stressed. She started buying all this expensive stuff, claiming it was for the baby, but nothing ever showed up. She said she was storing it at her friend's place until the nursery was ready. That didn't make much sense, but I let it slide. The real red flag came from one of her friends. We were at a barbecue, and her friend Elka pulled me aside. She told me she didn't want to start drama, but she thought I should know that Sephi had faked pregnancies before. Twice. Elka said she felt bad for me because I seemed like a good guy, and she didn't want to see me get hurt. I was shocked. I didn't want to believe it. When I confronted Sephi about it, she laughed in my face. She said Elka was jealous of her and always trying to sabotage her relationships. I didn't know what to think. Sephi was so convincing, and I wanted to believe her. But something didn't sit right with me. That's when I decided to hire a private investigator. I didn't tell anyone, not even my closest friends. I scraped together some money and found this guy, Myron, who worked out of a tiny office in Atlanta. He looked like someone out of a 1950s detective movie, rumpled suit, cigarette in his mouth, the whole vibe. I gave him all the details and told him I needed to know the truth. A couple of weeks later, Myron called me into his office. He handed me a file, and I knew before I even opened it that my life was about to change. Inside were photos of Sephi drinking cocktails at a bar, receipts showing she'd been spending my money on designer clothes and jewelry, and the kicker, a medical report from her gynecologist confirming she wasn't pregnant and hadn't been during the time we'd been together. I sat there, staring at the evidence, feeling like the biggest idiot in the world. Myron looked at me and said, "Kid, you've got 2 options. Walk away now or burn it all down. Either way, don't let her get away with this." I was angry. I was humiliated. But mostly, I wanted Sephi to face the consequences of what she'd done. I couldn't just walk away. She'd lied to me, stolen from me, and tried to trap me in a fake life. She didn't deserve to just move on without anyone knowing the truth. So I came up with a plan. I didn't let on that I knew anything. I even proposed to her a month later with a ring I picked up at a pawn shop. I told her I wanted to marry her and be a family. She ate it up. She started planning this over-the-top wedding, talking about how she wanted it to be the event of the year. I played along, pretending everything was fine. The wedding was scheduled for June, and Sephi insisted we have a big rehearsal dinner the night before. She wanted all our friends and family there. She said it was important to set the tone for the wedding. I agreed, knowing exactly what I was going to do. The night of the rehearsal dinner, we were at this fancy restaurant in Atlanta. Everyone was there, her parents, her friends, my friends. Sephi was glowing, basking in all the attention. Halfway through dinner, I stood up to make a toast. I held up my glass and said, "Thank you all for being here tonight. I just want to say how much I love Sefi and how excited I am for our future. But before we move forward, I have something I need to share. Sefi froze. Her smile disappeared, and she gave me this look like she knew what was coming. I pulled a manila envelope out of my jacket and slid it across the table to her. Go ahead, Sefi, I said. Open it. She didn't move at first, just stared at the envelope like it was a bomb. Finally, she picked it up and opened it. Inside were all the photos, receipts, and medical records Myron had gathered. The room went silent. You could hear a pin drop as everyone waited to see what she would do. Sefi's hands were shaking as she flipped through the papers. Her face went from pale to red to something I can only describe as panicked rage. She stammered, What is this? This is a misunderstanding, Max. I leaned on the table, looking her dead in the eyes. No, Sefi, it's not a misunderstanding. It's proof. Proof that you've been lying to me and everyone else here. Proof that there was no baby. Proof that you've been using me for my money, stringing me along, and planning to trap me in a fake marriage. Her parents were the first to react. Her mom gasped so loudly it echoed through the room. Her dad just sat there, staring at her like he didn't recognize his own daughter. My family looked furious, but they let me keep talking. This was my moment. I gave you everything, Sefi. I trusted you. I loved you. And you thought you could manipulate me, lie to me, and humiliate me. Well, guess what? I'm not as dumb as you think I am. I hired a private investigator. I've known the truth for weeks. Sefi tried to laugh it off, like I was joking, but her voice cracked. Max, baby, listen, I can explain. Don't call me baby, I snapped. The only baby here is the one you made up to try and trap me. People started whispering, and then the questions came. Her friends were asking her if it was true. Her parents were demanding answers. I stood there, watching her squirm. She looked around the room like a cornered animal, but no one was coming to her rescue. Finally, she screamed, You're ruining everything. Why would you do this in front of everyone? I crossed my arms. Because you don't deserve to get away with this. You lied to me, and you lied to everyone here. I wanted everyone to know who you really are. Then I dropped the final bombshell. Oh, and by the way, the wedding? It's cancelled. I already called the venue, the caterers, the florist. Everything. And since I paid for all of it, I got most of the money back. You're not getting a dime from me. This is over, Sefi. She sat there, stunned, as I turned to everyone else in the room. I'm sorry you all had to see this, but I thought you should know the truth. I'll be leaving now. Enjoy the rest of your night, if you can. And then I walked out. I didn't look back. I didn't need to. The shocked silence and the sound of Sefi crying and yelling behind me were enough. I went home that night and felt a strange mix of emotions, anger, relief, satisfaction. I'd exposed her for the fraud she was, and it felt damn good. But it was also sad, knowing how much time and energy I'd wasted on someone who never truly cared about me. In the weeks that followed, word got around. Sefi became a pariah in her social circles. People she used to hang out with stopped talking to her. Her parents cut her off financially, furious that she'd embarrassed them so badly. She tried calling me a few times, leaving voicemails begging me to forgive her, but I blocked her number. I didn't want anything to do with her ever again. A few months later, I heard through the grapevine that she'd moved to Florida to start fresh. Apparently, she was trying to reinvent herself, but good luck with that. The people she'd scammed before had already spread the word about her lies. As for me, I've been doing fine. I used the refunded wedding money to expand my shop and even bought myself a new set of tools I'd been wanting for years. I've been spending more time with friends and family, focusing on what really matters. The best part? I'm finally free. Free from her lies, her manipulation, and her chaos. She thought she could control me, but in the end, I took back that control and left her to deal with the fallout. And that, my friends, is the most satisfying revenge of all.